Hi everyone. Okay, let me make sure that I'm live. Okay, and now I gotta get my filter together for IG. Okay, we are gonna go get started. Hey everyone. Alrighty. So, hi everyone. So, my name is Deja, and I am a publicist. And pretty much what I do is I help industry disruptors get featured in the press. I will repeat that again just to make sure that you all can hear me clearly. But, hi everyone. So, my name is Deja. Again, I am a publicist, and what I do is I help industry disruptors get featured in the press. Uh, if you're tuning into this live, tonight's topic is about is your brand ready for PR? So, again, we are talking about is your brand ready for PR, right? Hi, hey everyone. So hold on. Oh. I'm like clicking all these buttons and I'm messing with stuff. Let me not touch that. So yeah, so let's get into it. Come in. If you are new here, make sure that you all are signed up for my free PR checklist. You can get that by clicking the link in my bio if you're watching it on Facebook or Twitter or Periscope, Twitter Live, whatever it's called. You can just click the link in the description. But the main place, go on my IG, you can get it from my bio. So we're talking about, are you ready for PR? This is a question that I'm asked all the time as a publicist, of course, right? Do you think I'm ready for PR? What do I need to get ready for PR? So I've decided tonight to talk to you all about 5 things to consider, whether you need to. Ooh, I lost my train of thought. 5 things that you should consider, hey, in terms of PR, right? So this is how you know your brand is ready for PR, and these are the things that you need to focus on. So the first thing, you want to make sure that you're clear with your brand positioning, right? So does your brand have clear messaging? Have you conducted a SWOT analysis, right? Are there clear points of distinction from the competition so that will direct what stories to tell? So before you consider PR, you need to make sure that your brand is already together from a certain extent. So you already are clear on what makes you different, what makes you unique. You're clear on what your messaging is in terms of that marketing messaging. And then you can start focusing on using PR to drive your narrative, using that PR as an opportunity to get into the storytelling piece of your brand. After that, and I already kind of mentioned this, it's also about talking about or identifying rather your target audience. So, do you know who your target audience is? Do you have multiple audiences, which is a thing, which is okay, right? And are there multiple audiences who can help your brand achieve the business and marketing goals? So you have to be very clear on who you want to talk to, especially in PR. It's no different from marketing. Different outlets talk to different audiences, which means sometimes your story will change, which is why I mentioned earlier about the different messaging. Hey Tia, hey girl. So you want to make sure that you are clear on what your business goals are and what your marketing goals are. Because when you start doing press, different press outlets have different types of audiences. I had a client today that did news. News, a lot of times, y'all, is very mainstream. That's what I'll say. Very, very mainstream for trying to be, trying to be polite. So very, very mainstream. So that story is going to be a lot different. And then also understanding what's going on in the social climate as well too. So yeah, like there's a lot of social tension. There's a lot of things going on in the social justice space. So especially if you are a business owner of color, especially a Black business owner, more mainstream outlets are interested in specifically telling your story because they want to get that buy-in with their audience. Because now we're starting to see a shift in terms of consumers are expecting more from companies. They're expecting them to cover stories that for people, that look like them. The world is becoming more and more diverse, right? Pamela, you need help? Just send me a DM, okay? So you always want to be mindful of who your audience is. You want to be mindful of your different audiences. You might have a variety of different audiences. So you always want to keep that in mind. Another thing, you want to be mindful about the expertise, like be clear on your expertise or your thought leadership. So if you should not be looking to be featured in the press, if you're not clear on what your area of expertise is, you do not have a proven area of expertise. Like the media wants experts or people that have a specific story or vantage point that they're telling, right? So, prime example, I have a client that is they are a real estate firm, women owned, black owned, women led real estate firm. So they are doing stories or doing articles that are talking about what's going on in the housing market, specifically in Maryland, like what's going on with millennial home buyers because they're millennials. So things like that. So they have a specific lens of expertise. Of course, there are tons of real estate companies, right? Of course, there are tons of real estate brokers or real estate realtors. Sorry for like a verb. I'm like, I don't know why I can't think, but yeah, realtors. So you have to think about your industry, and you're not the only person that's doing what you do in your industry. Just like there are a ton of publicists, but we all of you have something that's unique, right? You all have something that is a different approach or something that is unique in your perspective. And that's something that you should leverage in terms of when you're ready to start securing press for your brand. So the next thing that I think is very important too is just your packaging. So that's when we're talking about like you're making sure you have headshots. You'd be surprised how many people I talk to that don't have professional pictures taken but are ready to get press. That's something that depending on what types of interviews you're going to be doing, that the media will ask for. I'm typically asked, well, what types of photos do I need? So I always say you want your professional headshot, but you also want some lifestyle ones, depending on what your industry is, of course. But have somewhere you're dressed up, have somewhere you're dressed down. If you have a product based business, you should have pictures of you, the business owner, but you should also have pictures of your product, have descriptions, even have a media kit created once you're to that point. How many headshots do you need? I wouldn't say it's a certain amount, but I guess if I had to put a number on it, I would say at least 3 to 5 different ones. Like they shouldn't all be the same. So you want to have different outfits. You want to be in different poses, have different backdrops. Like some of my headshots, I have like a white background. Some of my headshots, I have more, scenery. Like I'm in the city, things like that, because it will depend on what you're doing. Um, you also want to just make sure in terms of your packaging, like everything looks nice. So it's not even just for product based businesses, but more so just any business owner. You're welcome. So you want to make sure that you have things together that are ready for the media to leverage because those are things or elements that they will be leveraging in your story. It's also your website. Have your website together, have your social media together. Make sure your social media handles are consistent across the board if possible. I get it. Sometimes that's hard to do, but try to keep them as consistent as possible because, again, from that branding side of things, and when you're sending this information over for consideration in terms of be featured, it sends a message of that you have your stuff together. Also, thinking about like your social media. So not necessarily saying that you have to have a ton of followers, but people should be easy to identify what it is that you do and who you are, right? So you want to make sure that you focus on that. Consistency is very key in that regard. It's not about how many followers you have in most cases, not it's about the quality of content, which leads me to my next point. So you want to make sure that you have relevant and compelling content. So again, I talked about the images before. I consider that more under the umbrella of packaging, but just making sure that you have all the pieces that you need. Is your website together? What type of information are you putting out on your pages? So do you have a personal page or do you have a business page? So yeah, so all right, guys, I am going to sign out. So those were the 5 things that you need to consider in terms of making sure your brand is ready for PR. If you are just tuning in, make sure that you catch the replay. If you're watching this later, just hit replay, okay? Alrighty, bye.